Before you leave the house, before you check your phone, before you scroll through someone else's life, you better open your mouth and declare over your own. Because let me tell you something, child of God, the first voice you hear in the morning should not be the noise of the world, it should be the word of your worth. Words are not just sounds. Words are not just noise in the atmosphere. Words are spiritual instruments. They are creative tools. They are seeds planted in the soil of your mind, and what you say consistently will eventually grow roots in your reality. That's why it's critical, essential, that you understand the power of self-declaration. Because what you say about you to you in the privacy of your morning moments is far more important than what anybody else says about you on any platform, in any room, or from any pulpit. Let me break this down to you. When you open your eyes in the morning, your spirit is listening. Your subconscious is alert. Your heart is tender. That's when you're most impressionable. So when you wake up and you immediately start scrolling, immediately start worrying, immediately start comparing yourself to somebody else's timeline, you've already given away your power before the battle of the day even begins. Instead, you must become the prophet of your own life. You must speak what you believe, not what you see. You must declare what you desire, not what you dread. There is a divine principle here. Spoken word carries weight. Even from the book of Genesis, we see that God spoke the world into existence. He didn't build it with his hands first. He built it with his words. He said, "Let there be." And it was. Why? Because word creates. Word activates. Word manifests. And when you're made in his image, that same power has been placed in your mouth. Now let me teach you something critical. Your words are steering your life like a rudder steers a ship. Small, subtle, but strategic. If all you ever say is "I'm tired," "I'm stressed," "I'm not enough," then don't be surprised when your day begins to agree with your confession. But if you wake up with authority and say, "I am strong, I am chosen, I am walking in favor," then your mindset, your behavior, and your outcomes begin to bend toward that truth. This isn't just hype. It's not self-help fluff. It's spiritual law. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And every morning, you're either breathing life into your destiny or choking it with doubt, based on what you say. This is why self-declaration is not optional. It's warfare. It's alignment. It's preparation for divine engagement. Let me help you understand how dangerous it is to be silent when you should be speaking. If you don't declare over your day will declare over you. If you don't control your narrative, the world will hand you one. And most times that narrative is rooted in fear, lack, guilt, and comparison. But when you get up in the morning and say, "This is the day that the Lord has made, I will rejoice," you're not just quoting scripture. You're setting the thermostat of your soul. Even science supports what scripture already revealed, that your brain responds to positive self-talk by releasing chemicals like dopamine and serotonin that elevate mood, increase focus, and fuel resilience. But even beyond the biology, there's a spiritual authority that backs a believer who speaks truth over their life with conviction. Angels respond to declarations rooted in faith. Heaven aligns with people who align their words with God's will. Don't wait until life is perfect to start speaking power. You've got to speak it when you're in the valley. You've got to speak it when the bills are due. You've got to speak it when you don't feel like it. Because faith isn't about feeling. It's about fortifying your spirit with truth. Say it even if your voice shakes. Declare it even if your situation doesn't reflect it. Speak it even when your emotions resist it. Because what you say, consistently, repeatedly, habitually, becomes what you believe, and what you believe shapes how you behave, and how you behave determines what you build. It all begins with your mouth. Some of you are one declaration away from deliverance, one word away from breakthrough, one morning away from renewed strength, but you keep handing the microphone to your fears, your regrets, your shame, your fatigue. It's time to snatch that mic back. Look yourself in the mirror and say, "No more. No more lies, no more defeat, no more settling. I will speak life. I will speak victory. I will speak identity. I will speak truth. Every single morning, treat your declarations like a prescription. Because if your mind is the battlefield, then your words are the weapons. And when you speak them early, you disarm the enemy before he ever launches his attack. So let this be your morning ritual, your daily reset, your spiritual command post. Declare over your life who you are, what you will do, and where you're going before the world has a chance to suggest otherwise. That's the power of self-declaration. You're not just talking. You're planting. You're not just affirming. You're activating. You're not just wishing. You're walking in alignment with the God who spoke everything into existence and now lives in you. Speak, child of God. Speak with power. Speak with purpose. Speak like your future depends on it, because it does. One of the greatest battles you will ever fight is the war between who you really are and who life has told you you are not. Every day when you wake up, you are stepping into a world that is constantly trying to label you, limit you, shrink you down, and box you in. And if you're not careful, if you're not grounded, you will begin to believe the whispers of your insecurity more than the truth of your identity. That's why every single morning, before the world even opens its mouth, you've got to remind yourself who you are. You've got to look in that mirror and silence the insecurities that want to rise up and steal your day before it even starts. Insecurity is subtle. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It whispers through comparison. It whispers through rejection. It whispers through childhood wounds. It whispers through social media highlights that make you question your own value. But you've got to answer those whispers with identity. You've got to speak back. Listen to me, identity is not something the world gives you. Identity is something God gave you. Before you had a title, a talent, a degree, or a following, God had already stamped his image on you. That's your real identity. You are not what you've been through. You are not what they called you. You are not your trauma, your failure, or your weakness. You are a child of God, fully seen, fully known, and fully loved. And yet, the world is always trying to convince you otherwise. That's why we're living in a time where people are confused, exhausted, and addicted to validation. Because they've been trying to get an answer about who they are from places that never created them in the first place. You can't get your worth from broken people. You can't get your value from a job title. You can't get your identity from how many likes or followers you get. All of that is temporary. All of that is fragile. But identity rooted in God is unshakable. When you wake up in the morning, insecurity will always try to beat you to the punch. It'll try to remind you of what you're not. You're not rich enough. You're not smart enough. You're not attractive enough. You're not talented enough. And if you don't speak back with truth, you will start living your life as a reaction to lies. You'll shrink in rooms where you were meant to stand tall. You'll second guess your gifts. You'll settle for less than you deserve, all because you didn't declare your identity before your insecurity did. But let me tell you something. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's not just poetic scripture. That's a powerful declaration of design. You are not random. You are not extra. You are not an accident. You are crafted with purpose. And when you know who you are, you stop apologizing for it. You stop diluting yourself to fit in. You stop begging for validation from people who couldn't handle your truth, even if it was wrapped in humility. Insecurity always shrinks your vision. It makes you think too small. It causes you to settle. It makes you sabotage opportunities because deep down you don't feel worthy. But identity, true identity, enlarges your capacity. It gives you confidence. It empowers you to walk boldly into rooms you used to tiptoe into. Not because you're arrogant, but because you are aware. You are aware that you are chosen. You are aware that you are called. You are aware that you carry value. So every morning you've got to confront your insecurities head on. You can't coddle them. You can't ignore them. You've got to declare your identity until your insecurities lose their grip. You've got to say, I am enough. I am worthy. I am called. I am equipped. I am not what happened to me, I am what God is doing through me. Because until you learn to talk back to those inner voices, they will run your day and rule your life. Let me take it a little deeper. When you don't know your identity, you'll keep entering relationships trying to find it. You'll keep chasing success, hoping it will define you. You'll wear masks, you'll perform, you'll pretend, and none of it will satisfy. Because identity isn't something you chase, it's something you accept. It's something you claim. It's something you anchor yourself in before the winds of insecurity try to blow you off course. Identity is your compass. It tells you where to go, how to move, what to say yes to, and what to walk away from. Insecurity is a thief. It will steal your time, your peace, your creativity, your courage. But identity is a builder. It constructs confidence. It sets boundaries. It fosters peace. It attracts purpose. So I challenge you, make it your mission every morning to affirm your identity. Don't wait until the day breaks you down. Start with strength. Start with truth. Start with clarity. Speak it. Own it. Walk in it. Because the moment you know who you are, the enemy loses access to your mind. The moment you own your identity, insecurity has no place to land. Before the world wakes up with its chaos, confusion, and criticism, you must wake up with faith. Because faith is not just a spiritual concept. It is your inner thermostat. Faith is what determines the temperature of your thoughts, your actions, your expectations. If you start your day in fear, in doubt, in anxiety, you've already surrendered the rhythm of your soul to the pressures of the world. But if you start with faith, real faith, grounded, rooted, tested, and still standing, then everything else has to come into alignment. Faith sets the tone. It sets the atmosphere of your heart. It establishes your focus. It gives your mind something to stand on when the waves of life try to knock you down. Most people start their day reacting to deadlines, text messages, emails, bad news. But people of vision, people of purpose, people who walk with God, don't react to the world. They respond in faith. There is a difference between waking up in survival mode and waking up in spiritual alignment. See, faith is not a luxury for the spiritually elite. It is a necessity for anyone who wants to walk in victory. You don't need perfect circumstances to walk in faith. In fact, the very presence of resistance is the breeding ground for real faith. That's why every morning, before your feet hit the floor, you must declare, I walk by faith, not by sight. I don't live based on what I see. I live based on what I believe. Because if your eyes become your guide, your vision will always be limited to your circumstances. But when your faith becomes your focus, you begin to live in expectation even when your situation shows no sign of change. You'll begin to thank God for things you haven't even received yet, because you know the one who promised is faithful to deliver. That's what faith does. It makes you expect good things even in hard seasons. Don't let your mornings be shaped by moods. Let them be shaped by faith-filled decisions. Wake up and say today, I choose peace. I choose gratitude. I choose excellence. I choose to believe that something good is about to happen. That's not wishful thinking. That's commanding your day by the authority of faith. Your day takes the shape of your thoughts, and your thoughts are driven by the engine of your belief system. So if faith sets the tone, then negativity can't dominate the melody. Let me teach this. Faith doesn't deny reality. It defines it. You're not ignoring your challenges. You're speaking into them. You're not pretending like everything is fine. You're declaring that everything will work together for good. Faith does not make you blind. It makes you bold. Faith gives you permission to stand in the middle of a storm and say, I still believe. Faith gives you authority to look at lack and say, my God shall supply. Faith empowers you to look at closed doors and say, if God allowed it to close, it wasn't meant for me. But here's the key. You must exercise it daily. Faith is not a one-time event. It's a daily discipline. Just like your body needs food every morning, your spirit needs faith. You feed it through declarations. You feed it through prayer. You feed it through the Word, because if you don't feed your faith, your fears will feast on your silence. Many of us lose the day not because life is too hard, but because our faith is too quiet. You've got to open your mouth, say something. You've got to speak your faith until your feelings fall in line. You've got to declare strength when you feel weak, declare clarity when you feel confused, declare joy when you feel heavy. Because faith doesn't need proof to speak, it only needs a promise. Understand this, every morning when you wake up, you're not just stepping into time, you're stepping into a battle, and you can't fight spiritual battles with natural tools. You need the shield of faith. You need it to quench the fiery arrows of discouragement, comparison, shame, and distraction. Faith is not passive, it's a force. It is heaven's language. It is the currency of the supernatural. And without it, you're trying to do a divine assignment with an empty tank. So I say to you, when your eyes open, don't just reach for your phone, reach for your faith. Don't just check your schedule, check your spirit. Ask yourself, am I leading my day, or is my day leading me? Faith takes leadership. Faith walks into a messy situation and speaks order. Faith walks into uncertainty and speaks peace. Faith walks into limitation and speaks overflow. And when you set that tone early, everything else follows. Your attitude shifts, your energy aligns, your decisions become wiser, your words become sharper, because faith brings you back into agreement with who God says you are and what God says you can do. So don't underestimate the power of a faith-filled morning. Your entire day bends in the direction of your belief. Speak with faith, think with faith, walk with faith. Faith doesn't just change your day, it changes your life. Because when faith sets the tone, favor starts moving, doors start opening, hearts start healing, and purpose starts unfolding. Faith is not a feeling, it is your foundation, and every morning you build upon it. You build a life that cannot be shaken. Fear is a liar, and worse, it is a thief. It doesn't show up empty-handed. When fear walks into the room, it steals your clarity, your confidence, your calling. But the only reason fear gets to take that much space in your life is because, somewhere along the way, you made an agreement with it. You shook hands with doubt. You allowed the lie to settle, and before long, fear became your interpreter. Every opportunity looks like a threat. Every open door feels like a trap. Every blessing seems too good to be true. But hear me, every single morning you have to break agreement with fear. You have to stand in the mirror and say, "Fear, you are not my friend, you are not my guide, you are not my counselor, you are not welcome here." Because the truth is, fear is always looking for a partner. It cannot enter your mind unless you first give it permission. It speaks, but it doesn't have power unless you agree. It whispers worst case scenarios. It paints pictures of failure. It builds a future where everything goes wrong. And if you don't speak back, you start living as if those lies are truth. Fear doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it comes dressed as caution. Sometimes it sounds like wisdom. Sometimes it pretends to be protection. But make no mistake, when fear is in control, faith is suffocating. When fear has the microphone, your destiny is being silenced, and you cannot fulfill your calling if fear is the compass you're following. You've got to make up your mind daily. I will not come into agreement with fear today. That's not just emotional talk. That's spiritual warfare, because the spirit of fear is a stronghold. It attaches itself to past trauma, old disappointments, and broken experiences. It builds a case against your future based on your past. But the blood of Jesus breaks that agreement. You are not what fear says you are. You are not as small as your mistakes. You are not as weak as your worst day. You are not as powerless as the devil tries to make you feel. Fear keeps you in cycles. It keeps you reliving the same patterns, walking in circles, playing it safe. It makes you stay in the boat when God is calling you to walk on water. And some of you are drowning in missed moments because fear talked you out of faith. So what do? You confront it. You speak truth back to it. You identify it. You don't pretend it's not there. You strip it of its influence. You say, I see you, fear, but I refuse to follow you. You stop giving fear your schedule. Stop letting fear choose your relationships. Stop letting fear design your goals. Stop letting fear write your script. Fear will always lead you to comfort zones, but nothing grows there. Destiny doesn't bloom in safety. Purpose doesn't flourish in hiding. Let me teach you something. The enemy uses fear to neutralize gifted people. He can't take your anointing, but he'll try to convince you not to use it. He can't shut the door that God opened, but he'll do everything he can to keep you from walking through it. That's why every time you're on the edge of something great, fear starts screaming. Because it knows that if you ever really believe what God said about you, if you ever truly walk in your authority, if you ever start making decisions based on faith and not fear, hell's plans fall apart. So when fear shows up in the morning, trying to tell you who you're not, trying to play reruns of your failures, trying to convince you to settle, don't just think your way out of it, speak your way out of it. Faith comes by hearing, not just by thinking. You've got to declare, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. You've got to wake up and say, I refuse to live in the shadow of fear. I will live in the light of truth. Fear is loud, but it is not Lord. It is persistent, but it is not powerful. It is emotional, but it is not eternal. It may visit, but it cannot stay. Not when faith is in the room. You've got to declare that today your choices will not be fear-based, but faith-built. You've got to make the kind of decisions that scare your fear and stir your purpose. Understand this: breaking agreement with fear doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It means you won't obey that fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the refusal to be controlled by it. You may feel the nerves, the tension, the weight. But you move anyway, you speak anyway, you show up anyway. That's how chains break. That's how strongholds crumble. So every morning remind yourself, I am not in covenant with fear. I am in covenant with God. I do not follow anxiety. I follow peace. I do not serve doubt. I serve truth. Fear is not my master. Faith is. And the more you break that agreement, the stronger you become. The louder your voice grows. The further your feet walk. And the closer you get to the version of yourself that fear always tried to hide. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not loud. It rarely gets applause. But let me tell you something. Consistency is the quiet force that builds inner strength. It is the behind-the-scenes discipline that produces public power. It is the daily decision to show up, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one is watching, even when there's no immediate reward. Consistency is what separates wishful thinkers from world changers. Most people are waiting on a breakthrough, waiting on motivation, waiting on the right moment. But those who truly grow, those who develop real spiritual and emotional muscle, aren't waiting on a feeling. They're working a rhythm. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about intentionality. It's choosing to do the right thing over and over again until it becomes your lifestyle. You don't become strong in crisis. You become strong in routine. You don't develop courage when the fire comes. You build it when no one's looking. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, every time you speak life over yourself instead of letting your thoughts drift into negativity, every time you rise early and invest in your mind, your soul, your purpose, you are gaining strength even when you don't see it yet. Strength doesn't just come from the big moments, it comes from the small choices, repeated. That's what makes consistency powerful. You don't have to conquer the mountain all at once, you just have to keep climbing. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be persistent. That's where many people get discouraged. They start strong but don't stay steady. They make a bold declaration one day, but when the feelings fade, they retreat. But true growth is not measured by what you do occasionally. It's measured by what you do consistently. Can you keep praying when you feel dry? Can you keep declaring truth when your life still looks the same? Can you keep sowing even when you don't see a harvest yet? Consistency is the evidence of commitment. It is proof that you are not led by emotion, but anchored in purpose. Because feelings are fickle, they come and go. But commitment knows how to hold steady in the storm. Consistency teaches your soul that you're not led by your mood, you're led by your mission. Let me teach you this. Your mind doesn't just listen to your words, it watches your patterns. When you practice consistency, you build trust with yourself. And when you trust yourself, your confidence grows. You stop second, guessing every move. You stop abandoning your goals every time it gets uncomfortable. Consistency builds integrity from the inside out. It creates alignment between your intention and your execution. But let me warn you, consistency will test you, because it's not always exciting, it's repetitive. It's uncomfortable, it feels slow, it often goes unnoticed. But that's the point, because in the secret place of repetition, God is building roots. He's developing character. He's strengthening your spiritual foundation so that when the winds blow, you won't break. When others fall off, you keep showing up. That's the strength. Consistency produces resilience. You can't fake consistency. You either have it or you don't. You can post all the quotes you want. You can say all the right things. But real power comes from what you keep doing after the emotion is gone. The enemy isn't threatened by what you do once. He's threatened when you keep doing it, day after day, in faith. Because when you're consistent, you become unstoppable. Not because of hype, but because of habit. This applies to everything. Your spiritual life, your health, your mindset, your relationships, your purpose. What you do consistently creates momentum. And momentum is what carries you when motivation is missing. That's why it's not just about intensity. It's about showing up daily, giving what you have, and trusting God with the results. Some of you are praying for strength, and God is answering with routine. He's giving you systems, He's giving you structure, He's whispering, do it again, even if it's hard, even if it's slow, even if nobody claps. Because that's how champions are made, that's how character is formed. That's how faith matures, through repetition, through obedience, through consistency. And here's the beautiful part, consistency compounds. Every time you show up, it stacks, it builds, it multiplies. You may not feel the difference in a day, but you'll see the difference in a season. What started as a discipline becomes a lifestyle. What felt like effort becomes second nature. That's the reward of consistency. It transforms not just your outcomes, but your identity. You become the kind of person who doesn't quit, who doesn't break, who doesn't shrink back. So every morning make the decision, I will be consistent, not perfect, but present, not flawless, but faithful. I will choose structure over sloppiness, growth over comfort, purpose over procrastination. I will train my soul to obey even when my feelings protest, because consistency isn't just a habit, it's a weapon. It tears down strongholds, it builds legacies, it multiplies results. It strengthens resolve, and it proves to your mind, your flesh, and every doubting voice, I am not who I was. I am becoming stronger every day. Not in one giant leap, but one faithful step at a time. So, as you rise each morning, before the world places its weight on your shoulders, before the demands of life pull at your peace, before fear tries to whisper in your ear, you must speak life. You must declare truth. You must set the tone, because your morning is not just a moment of routine. It is the birthplace of your mindset. It is the gatekeeper of your purpose, and the words you speak in those early hours will either build your day or break it. Tell yourself, I am chosen. That's not up for debate. You're not here by accident. Heaven voted for you long before earth had an opinion. Tell yourself, I am becoming. Progress is happening, even if it's slow, even if it's silent, even if it's not seen. Tell yourself, I have what I need. You're not lacking. Race has already gone ahead of you. Tell yourself, I am worthy. Not because you earned it, but because you were created with value. Tell yourself, my past has no power over my purpose. What was doesn't control what will be. Tell yourself, I am disciplined. Your habits are catching up with your calling. Tell yourself, I will live with purpose, not pressure. Your identity is not attached to anyone's opinion. Tell yourself, I release the weight of yesterday. You are not dragging old wounds into new days. And tell yourself, today is a gift, and I will not waste it. You have breath in your body, strength in your soul, and purpose in your steps. Each of these declarations is more than positive talk. They are spiritual strategies. They are mental conditioning. They are daily decisions to align yourself with heaven's plan and silence hell's noise. Don't wait for life to affirm you. Don't wait for people to validate you. Don't wait for success to confirm you. Speak the truth of God over yourself, first thing, because the day you stop declaring is the day you start drifting, and drifting leads to doubt. Doubt leads to fear. Fear leads to paralysis, but faith will keep you moving even in the dark. So walk out of your room like you already won the day. Walk into your calling like the assignment is already yours. Walk into obstacles like they've already been overcome. Because when your morning is full of truth, your day will be full of power. And remember, you don't need a crowd. You just need consistency. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up. You don't need to feel it. You just need to speak it. So tomorrow morning, and every morning after that, don't let your feet hit the floor until your faith hits your mouth. Speak like your life depends on it, because it does. Declare like your future depends on it, because it does. Affirm like your purpose depends on it, because it does. And when you do, you won't just change your morning, you'll change your mindset, you'll change your momentum. And eventually, you'll change your entire life. Now go forth, not in fear, not in confusion, not in doubt, but in faith, in clarity, in identity, in power, and in truth, because this is your day, your life, and your voice sets it in motion.